Welcome back and a good day to you all. Today's episode is titled Springtime. As spring awakens here in Virginia, buds bursting, fields greening, and the Potomac River shimmering under longer days, it feels only right to turn our eyes to Mount Vernon in this season of renewal. George Washington's resume is astounding. Take a quick look here. From achievements providing leadership to a humble husband and a family guy. Most people think of him just as our first president or the indispensable man of the revolution. But today, we'll look at the kickoff of springtime. At his core, he saw himself as a farmer. He once wrote, "Agriculture is most healthful, most useful, and most honorable of pursuits." And in spring, Mount Vernon came alive with the very innovations that reflected his deepest hopes for a self-reliant, prosperous American republic. Let's step back to the 18th century and walk those fields together. By the time spring arrived each year, Washington was already deep in planning after the Revolution. He returned to Mount Vernon, determined to heal exhausted soil and build a model farm. Tobacco had worn out the land for generations. It depleted nutrients fast. So George shifted away from it entirely by the 1760s, turning to wheat as his main cash crop. Wheat needed careful tending, and spring was prime time, plowing, sowing, preparing. He pioneered what we now call scientific farming, influenced by English reformers like Arthur Young, with whom he corresponded. Washington moved from the old 3-field system to a 7-field crop rotation. This was revolutionary for Virginia planters. In this system, fields cycled through 7 years. Wheat for 1 year, corn for home use, then clover or peas to fix nitrogen in the soil and restore fertility. Other years included grasses of hay, root crops, or fallow with manure. No more leaving land idle 1 out of 3 years. Instead, constant improvement. Spring planting kicked it off, sowing wheat or corn after plowing. He experimented relentlessly. Washington tested mixtures, manures from livestock, penned and rotating paddocks, and even new plowing techniques. He built innovative structures like the famous 16-sided Threshing Barn at one of several farms at Mount Vernon. Here's a quick 1-minute video of the Threshing Barn at Mount Vernon.
Imagine a barn that worked like a machine. By 1792, George Washington designed just that at Doe Run Farm, one of the 5 farms on his 8,000-acre estate. Modeled on English barns but radically reimagined, his plan focused on processing grain more efficiently and securely. Washington's idea was simple but ingenious. A circular wooden treading floor on the 2nd story where horses could thresh grain indoors. Gaps between the floorboards allowed the grain to fall into the storage granary below, where it could be winnowed and sent to the mill. The structure's unusual design, a 2-story, 16-sided barn enclosing an octagonal frame, was both an architectural feat and an agricultural innovation. Carpenter Thomas Green and enslaved carpenters had the difficult task of building it, but Washington's nested polygon design made the roof system possible.
Now, that was a fascinating video clip and an innovation for its time period. The map here at Mount Vernon, you can see where the Threshing Barn is located on the estate. Yes, it's still there and can be visited today. Springtime also brought fishing opportunities. George had a deep and multifaceted involvement in fishing, both as a personal recreation and as a significant commercial enterprise at his Mount Vernon estate along the Potomac River. More substantially, recognizing the Potomac's extraordinary abundance, described by Washington himself in 1793 as one entire fishery, teeming with shad, herring, bass, perch, and more. He developed commercial fisheries starting around 1762. He maintained 3 main fishing operations along his estate's 10-mile shoreline, hauling in massive amounts of fish, often over 1 million herring and shad annually during the spring runs, using large nets and fleet of boats. The surplus became highly profitable. The fish were salted, barreled, sold locally in places like Alexandria, and exported, including to the West Indies, generating revenue through trade and barter, making fishing one of Mount Vernon's most lucrative activities and reflecting Washington's entrepreneurial approach to planting management. And don't forget the distillery. Starting in the 1790s, Washington operated one of America's largest whiskey distilleries right at Mount Vernon, using rye, corn, and barley from his fields. It turned surplus grains into profit, a true value-added operation. Spring grains fed into summer harvests that kept the stills running year-round. His gardens bloomed too. The upper and lower gardens near the mansion house featured trees, apples, pears, peaches, and of course cherries, bursting into blossom each April. Peas were among the earliest spring crops, planted as soon as soil warmed. Hotbeds let gardeners start cabbage, lettuce, and artichokes even in late winter for early spring harvest. Washington delighted in these. He oversaw every detail from vistas to plant placement. Why did this matter so much to him? Farming wasn't just livelihood, it was his vision for America. He believed a nation of independent farmers, self-sufficient, tied to the land, was the backbone to a free republic. No reliance on foreign goods or exhausted soil leading to debt and dependence. In his farewell address, he warned against entanglements abroad. At Mount Vernon, he lived out self-reliance at home. He wrote to correspondents that wealthy farmers like himself had a duty to experiment, even if it meant occasional failures, so ordinary Americans could benefit. His records show detailed journals, planting dates, yields, and soil tests. This Enlightenment spirit, reason, improvement, progress, fueled his hope for a strong, virtuous republic. As spring unfolds today, think about it. The seeds George planted, literally and figuratively, still bear fruit. His innovations helped shift American agriculture towards sustainability and independence. In an era of new challenges, we can draw from that same spirit, tending our own farms, our families, communities, principles with care, innovation, and love of country. So this March and April, as you see flowers bloom or fields green, remember Mount Vernon in spring. George Washington was there, plow in hand, building not just a plantation, but a model for our republic. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode inspired you, please like, subscribe, and share. Let's keep telling these stories to preserve what our founders built. Until next time, have a fair and pleasant day.